So, so this portion is actually describing it seems like a crucial point in time, or so it seems that there is always a sense when we study that there is an option which is sort of, we can picture it through our mind, through the power of our ability to imagine, and then we see that it has to be like this. Okay, so this portion we can start to see patterns, and the first pattern that we see is a difficulty to give birth. Actually, that is sort of the, one can say, integral part of the stories of the mothers, okay, which are usually the unseen forces and powers working as well in us. So first, I ask you to remember that everything that we speak about is to do with a generality that happens in the world, in humanity, and in a person. So all the forces, which is Jacob and Esav, and Jacob that will become, and Isaac, Yitzchak and Rivka, are all forces in oneself. Specifically, when we're speaking about the formation, it's a formation process. All Bereshit, or in the beginning, which is a bit different than Genesis in terms of its internal meaning, is to do with the formation of consciousness, of human consciousness versus the intention of the Creator. So first, it's a war of forces and wills, and they have to sort of meet. They have to, one can say, rub against each other in order to actually get the form, or if to be more accurate, is to get the reformation. No will or no side, which means aspect of our consciousness, of the forces, even of nature, can actually be out of context. So actually a lot of what we study is the context of actually the language that can carry true communication and true effectiveness. It's an effectual language, not language of power. There is a difference, and I hope we will slowly come to discover this. So if we're coming to actually the story of, or it's not so much a story, it's a story in terms of the light that is in store in it, that we need to reveal. Okay, so this is a portion. The portion of Torah is the portion of that light that we need to unravel in such a way so we will allow it to affect us. So I started with the difficulties that it's a pattern that repeats itself, that the mothers usually are barren in the beginning, having difficulty actually to give birth to a continuation which is not nature continuation. It seems that all the mothers need to get to a specific state of consciousness that will allow them actually to create the next step of reformation for humanity. And that is beyond nature. So we saw it, it was very clear in Sarah, as well, that she need to come to fulfill a reformation of nine sfirot in herself. She's 90. Yeah. Abraham need to do the whole 10. He's 100. But for Sarah is enough 9. So she's 90 when she's actually, which means that her will has incorporated all the aspect of the other 9 sfirot in herself. And that is, one can say, the permission, yeah, that there is a possibility of continuation. So it is very difficult. It seems that it is very difficult to actually modify the nature of the will to receive, definitely as it develop on, as it sort of follows the line of development, and it becomes much more sure of itself, sure of its sovereignty over the world. It learns how to actually harness power of nature to its benefit in all departments, in the law of physics, in the social law, of how actually you gain power over other people, and you or enslave them or appeal to their will to receive to oneself, and they think that if they will actually join you, they'll get more. So all this, in the midst of that, after the deluge, the 10 generation after the deluge, there starts something totally new in the world through Sarah and Abraham, Sarah and Abraham. And actually, it's like a trial. And the first trial, which is not from Sarah, which is Ishmael, is there as something that we would say, this is not what is needed. It has its function, it has its meaning, but it's not that. Something else need to form, and now we're having in one belly, in one womb, 2 forces. Actually, when actually there is a pregnancy. Now, a pregnancy is a state, not a state of a lady that is about to give birth, or something is growing in her. It's a state to impregnate ourselves with a new possibility. It's a state and part of the order of work. So we allow something to impregnate us. It's still unseen, but we're keeping it, and something in us feels it. Not only it feels it, it has an extra grace till actually it comes out and becomes something that has a life of its own. Okay? So now we saw how the right side, which is Abraham, which is grace, with tying itself to the left through Sarah and Yitzchak. And now we have to see how actually the left side, which is to do with the ability to draw down wisdom, and to draw down wisdom is actually to take all the life and the ability to see and vitality that belongs to it to oneself. How actually from that, the middle line or something else which we don't know yet can be born. Well, the middle line will have to be this. It seems that there is a struggle in order to establish the middle line. Okay. So it starts with the valor that is represented by Isaac, is bringing into judgment, meaning into the way he knew how to plead to the higher, and never for himself. So he's pleading for Rivka. So he's pleading for Rivka is to plead for the Malchut. In all her state, it can be a very high state, but the valor always, if we follow the example of Yitzchak, is always to plead for someone else. But to plead for someone else actually has in it a very deep admission that the someone else is a completion of yourself. So you pleading for someone else, but at the same time you know that if the other one will not actually attain that which will allow him to give birth to something new, to a new state for humanity, actually the let's say the consciousness that is playing will not be able to complete itself. Okay? So for Yitzchak, to plead for Rivka is a very natural act. But there is a new dimension, or a new discourse, or a new possibility that is actually revealing itself through Rivka. She is not pleading to be impregnated. When she's already impregnated and she feels in herself the struggle between two forces, twin. When we're saying twins, that means that they will always develop or evolve in relation to one another. So I want to read with you the way it presents itself. Okay. So I think I brought my eyes. Yeah. Okay. So if you open your Bibles, and it's very interesting to listen to the template of the genealogy of the relationship between Abraham and Isaac. It's not clear whether Isaac is giving birth to the presence of Abraham or Abraham gave birth to the presence of Isaac. So it means that already the twin aspects, it's presenting itself in the relationship between father and son. Father and son in Kabbalah means the reason, and one can say the reason and the reaction to the reason. It's not always a result, but it's something which is a reason, which actually start a movement of something, and what comes out of it is a reaction to the intention of the reason. This is father and son. Okay, that which comes out as one can say is the next step, or a son is a revelation of the intention of the father. Maybe more clear. But then we move from that kind of relationship, which can say that it's higher, something that is above and below, to a relationship of brothers, which is two lines. And it all happens here. So let's listen to it. So it's we're reading in chapter 25, verse 19. Okay. It's called Isaac Descendants. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, meaning he went through the number 40, which is to do as well with a whole process of impregnation, 40 years in the desert, 40 weeks of pregnancy, 40 days that Moses is going up to be impregnated with the revelation of Torah. So it seems that there is 40 is a readiness to actualize what was unseen or hidden, to reveal it. So it will come to be known, and it will occupy a space in reality, meaning a space in consciousness. So he was maturing after the impregnation process, to actually commune with the root of his mother, with one of the outcome of the roots of his mother, Sarah, which is Rebecca, which is from the opposite side of himself. She comes from grace because her test was grace, to water, and water always is grace, to water the person, any person who needs Torah, and not only the person, but those parts in a person which are called camels, which are doomed, but she's watering them in order to give them vitality to the future. So now we have the meeting of those two opposites in order to create actually a new structure, that from it something new could be born and built as a structure of approaching the intention, or fulfilling the intention of the Creator to bestow goodness to his creature. So we have father and son, husband and wife, and two brothers. Okay. and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, meaning she was the daughter of grace, which part of the name of grace is El. So she was the daughter, but okay. The Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister. So we have another brother and sister relationship here. The sister of Lavan, the Syrian. Okay. It's sort of a translation of something that need to express the meaning of the north. And the meaning of the north is where it's the root of the left line. Okay, this is what it means. So we have that. So see how many forces actually we already have. Only how actually it will start a spiritual outcome, or it's to do with genes, not corporal genes, but spiritual genealogy. This is how it should be. Somehow it will find its place in my mouth. Okay, so I just want to see that what is being translated here as the Syrian, okay, is actually to do with Arami. Okay, and inside Arami in Hebrew, which start actually we can find it as well in the formation of Haggadah of Pesach, the formation of not a personal spirit, but a unity of or communion of spirits. But Arami in Hebrew imply the ability of Rivka to deceive for a different purpose than her brother. Because Arami and Ramai, meaning a cheater or a deceiver, are the same letters. So actually we have the potential of what is going to happen with the blessings already here. Okay? With the name of the source of Rivka. So it's not going to be a surprise, at least for us, reading it very, very carefully. Okay. So it is in Hebrew, when we first read it. In English, it is in verse 21, and Isaac entreated. But it's like pleading, like it's the same use of the word of like pleading in court, okay? Of actually presenting the side and the just cause, yeah, to present the just cause of someone, not of one. Usually, in Isaac case, is not of himself, because and Isaac was 40 as we saw, and he plead, one can say, the Lord for his wife, which he loved, which is very important. We always think that when we speak about grace, it has to do with the right side, it has to do with love. And it seems that valor here is the first expression of the ability to love. It's coming actually from valor, meaning that love has to do not it's not a sentiment or a feeling that need to fulfill me. It's a sentiment of giving. It's a sentiment of overcoming myself. So this is, I'm saying it because it's the way this meeting point has been written, and this is the first time it appears as a human. One can say as a possibility for human expression. If I'll be more accurate, it's the first expression through Isaac of a creator's trait of quality that can be expressed through the creative, through the human consciousness. So this is why it's important here. Okay. So for his wife, because she was barren, and to be barren, especially in Hebrew, it's difficult to explain that. In Hebrew, the word akara has also, and this is why it is so important with the mothers, is to do with to be, you can say, the main issue. It's to do when the main issue is God, you cannot give birth naturally. It has to be above nature, because there is a different intervention. So akara is not just I cannot have children. It means I cannot operate in the spiritual realm without the help of the higher. Okay. So when it's already there happening, we see, and the Lord was entreated of him, and Rivka, his wife, conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. Okay. It's the first time as well this verb is actually appearing, and it appears through the feminine part. It's not only calling, it's in a way, it has in it a demand. When can actually a person demand anything from the Creator, or from any level of his perception that he can appeal? What is that demand? Where lies its foundation of the audacity to demand. So actually, it's in a way explaining itself a bit before, in the way she's asking the question of what actually is happening and what is the meaning of it, and the way that it actually defines her ability to approach with demand. The only time, meaning in a process, that a person is demanding is where and when he feels that he has nothing of himself. Meaning that he's so dependent. First, it's an admission. It's an admission that state of having no power, of myself. No, even if I have a very strong will, but my will cannot actualize any spiritual step. I would come and I would say, you have created me thus. I mean, you have created me as a will to receive. Help me, because you have created me like this, and without your help, I cannot actually fulfill your intention. I cannot move, because everything that you have created in me does not have the power to approach you. So this is a demand. It's a demand for godly intervention. And this is the only point that we have the right to demand. So it is very much to do with Rivka being Malchut, demanding the help through Binah, or it doesn't matter through what. Demanding because there is a meaningful struggle happening in us, meaning you do not demand God's intervention unless you have a consciousness that something meaningful is struggling in you, and you don't have the power to actually create any meaningful decision or choice. So you either ask it directly, or you ask it through the ecology you are in, or through the study. But at that point of evolving, there can be only one way to demand. And this is the first time it's been expressed through human consciousness by Rivka. How can we actually ask for help? And where from? And then there is a spirit of prophecy that lands on Rivka, and then she knows what are the powers and the time that she will have to make the decision. Okay. So this is sort of the set, and then we will see that there is a whole struggle of this, the state of firstborn, and the meaning of firstborn, how it relates to the blessings, and what are the blessings actually. So I'll say a few words about being firstborn and blessing. Okay. It has to do with something that we already touched in our studies, but now maybe it's a good time to connect everything. Okay. First, the definition of the Zohar of blessing is the power and sovereignty and government of the way reformation, all reformation, meaning all tikkun, will proceed or exist at all. Because there is one way of reformation that the world can go through, and that's through agony and suffering. But there is an inner possibility of actually us joining consciously the extension of the light, and sort of preparing our vessels to be able to actually receive the light. So we moderate it in such a way, and we prepare our consciousness in such a way, which is the vessel. So we do it through feeling, through partnership. Okay? And this is actually the moment, the blessing of Isaac, which is the rules of the big play between the big processes that between the opposite, which is creator and createe. This is a crucial point, whether it will go through the way of Esav, meaning through the way of the will to receive to oneself, or through Jacob, which is through bestowal, or at least through changing or using differently the will to receive. Okay? So we know that the firstborn of the Creator is the will to receive. Everything that was created is the degrees of a will to receive. The lowest degree, which is human expression of it, is the will to receive to oneself. Or one can say the legs of creation. This part which was left for us, which is called the vacant space, okay, is under the domination of the will to receive to oneself, because it's under, one can say this, before there is Tzimtzum Bet, Tzimtzum Aleph, okay, all this space, which is called the hollow space, okay. So this is what is this is the firstborn. Firstborn is claiming through what was born here, which is a sav. A sav, it means it's already made. It has a very strong sense of self, a very strong sense of achievement. He knows how to hunt spirits. He knows how to hunt lights. But as the law of what is called Tzimtzum Aleph, or the way that the Creator sort of left us a space to decide or to choose, one can say, is a very self-aware consciousness. And that is in a way a self. So this is the firstborn. But as we see that the same problem of barrenness is following the mothers, the struggle of the meaning of the firstborn is as well something that actually is an ongoing struggle from Hevel and Cain through Yitzchak and Ishmael, and now through something which is even closer as twins between Yaakov and Esav. So what is the struggle? We see it in the beginning because when Esav is acting out his nature, he is acting out the nature of what we call manula, the lock, the power of Malchut to lock lights out. Okay? Because her decision was in here that lights will not extend themselves, but through the screen, the intention. And the intention need to be that as long as I think and wish for the higher to extend itself, this is the measurement that the light can extend itself. Meaning that my intention should be for the higher, that it will allow him. And if I can keep it as an intention, then the strength of my intention will actually determine the possibility of the light to extend itself. Now, if I lose my intention, what I'm meeting in myself is the refusal of Malchut, or the, yeah, one can say refusal, or the law that Malchut established, that she will not take lights to herself. And the moment it will reach and touch this kind of self without intention, it will actually ascend and disappear and run away from her. Meaning, in our sense, is the disappearance of consciousness or death. And this is why when Esav is coming back from his hunt, he's feeling close to death. And he's actually acknowledging that only Jacob can revive him. The second born. What means the second born? The way that we incorporate ourselves with a quality of the higher, which is called Tzimtzum Bet, yeah, and we enclose ourselves, yeah, inside it, then our Malchut can actually produce light. And when Esav is coming to Jacob in the state of near death, he's actually acknowledging his power as a firstborn. What is the power of a firstborn? The power of the firstborn is the ability to receive light, the blessings, the reformation, and to extend it to others as a force of life. So not only that there is an admission there that only Jacob can give life to Esav, but actually there is a scorn. In himself, Esav is scorning the right or the way of, one can say, of the firstborn. Yeah, he's saying the way it appears in me, it's useless. And then we'll come to the scene as well in ourselves. We come to admit that the late appearance, the second birth of ourself, the appearance of the point in the heart, or spiritual consciousness, is the only thing that can actually give us life, which means meaning, which as well can take us above and beyond the temporality of existence. So this is working in us, and the blessing cannot be, as Rivka is seeing, cannot be given to Esav. It must be given to Jacob, which is the unmade yet, like our spirit, uncompleted, unmolded yet form of attitude and relation to the higher, but it molds itself as the power of reformation till the end of reformation time processes. Okay, so this is sort of first round. Okay, now you can ask.